Wealth is not about how much you make, it's about who you become in the process. Poverty isn't just a lack of money, it's a lack of disciplined habits. The poor work for money, the wealthy make money work for them, but the truly rich understand this secret. Financial freedom begins in the mind, shaped by habits, invisible to the eye, but powerful beyond measure. Your financial destiny is not written by your circumstances, but by your daily choices. The habits you choose to embrace, small, unseen, consistent, are the architects of your future wealth. Step into abundance today by learning what those habits truly are. Also, I'll teach you how to build those habits. When I first began my journey, I had very little. Not much money, not much knowledge, and certainly not much in the way of connections. But I had one thing that changed everything: the habit of starting right where I was with what I had. You see, wealth isn't about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about taking your present situation, no matter how humble it may be, and turning it into an opportunity. The seed of abundance is planted not in the soil of plenty, but in the soil of resourcefulness. I remember those early days when the money was scarce, but my determination was not. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you need a large sum of money, a fancy degree, or the right connections before you can begin. But that's a lie that keeps most people stuck in place. The truth is, every millionaire you admire started somewhere, and often it was with far less than you have right now. The difference was their ability to leverage what they had, whether that was time, energy, a skill, or simply the willingness to learn. I used to tell myself, if I can't do something big, then I'll do something small. If I can't do something small, well, I'll do it poorly at first and get better. This mindset opened doors I didn't know existed. The habit of resourcefulness means looking around and asking, what can I do today with what's right in front of me? It's not about the size of your resources, but the cleverness of your use. Here's a practical example from my own life. Before I became successful, I worked as a janitor. Not exactly a glamorous start, but instead of letting that define me, I decided to make the most of my free time. I read books whenever I could. I listened to tapes on personal development, and I networked with anyone who could teach me something. The janitor's wage wasn't much, but my hunger for knowledge and willingness to act on it created a foundation I built my fortune upon. Resourcefulness also means being creative with your money. Maybe you don't have thousands to invest today, but you can start saving a small amount regularly. Perhaps you don't have a business idea, but you can develop skills that make you valuable in the marketplace. The key is to begin. Open an investment account with the first $50 you can spare. Start a side hustle that requires minimal capital. Offer your skills to someone in exchange for experience. These small steps, taken consistently, compound into massive change. I want you to remember this. Waiting for perfect conditions is a recipe for failure. The most successful people are those who take imperfect action with imperfect resources and get started. They understand that the journey from scarcity to abundance begins with a single step, taken courageously right where they stand. It's not where you start that determines where you'll finish. It's how you start. Adopt the habit of resourcefulness and watch how it transforms your mindset. You will begin to see opportunities instead of obstacles, possibilities instead of problems. That's the mindset that turns nothing into something, scarcity into abundance, and dreams into reality. So I challenge you today. Look around, see what you have, and commit to starting right now. The path to wealth is paved with small, consistent actions taken in faith that your present moment is enough to build the future you desire. Don't wait. Begin with what you have. That is the secret to creating abundance from nothing. When people talk about wealth, they often get caught up in how much money they bring home each month. It's easy to admire the person with the flashy car, a big paycheck, or a high-flying job title. But the truth is, income alone is a poor indicator of true financial success. The focus must always be on net worth, the real measure of what you own minus what you owe. If your expenses outpace your earnings, no matter how big that paycheck, you're not building wealth, you're just running faster on a treadmill. I've met many people who earn substantial incomes yet struggle financially because they allow their expenses and liabilities to grow even faster. They upgrade their lifestyle with every raise, buying the latest gadgets, the biggest house, or fancy vacations. This lifestyle inflation keeps them stuck in a cycle where money comes in and money goes out, leaving them with little or nothing to show for it. Wealth is built not by what you earn, but by what you keep and how you grow what you keep. Growing your net worth requires a disciplined approach to increasing assets while controlling or reducing liabilities. Assets are anything that puts money in your pocket: investments, rental properties, businesses, or savings accounts. Liabilities, on the other hand, are debts or expenses that drain your money, like credit card balances, car loans, or luxury purchases that depreciate quickly. The strategy here is simple but powerful. Focus on accumulating assets that generate income or appreciate in value and keep liabilities low. It means making conscious decisions, often sacrificing short-term pleasures, to invest in things that build your financial foundation. It also means understanding that a high income is worthless if it's all spent before you can grow your net worth. From my own experience, I learned early on that tracking net worth was the key to real progress. It became a quarterly ritual, reviewing what I owned, what I owed, and how the difference was growing. This habit helped me spot leaks in my finances and forced me to ask hard questions like, am I buying things that add value or just consume my income? It gave me clarity and motivation to adjust my spending and investment decisions. One practical step you can take today is to start tracking your net worth. Make a simple spreadsheet listing your assets and liabilities and update it every 3 months. Watch the number move. Not just because it's fun, but because it reflects your true financial health. The goal is to see your net worth climb steadily over time, and if it isn't, you need to find out why. Remember, wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and grow. When your focus shifts to net worth, your spending habits change, your investment decisions improve, and your financial future brightens. This mindset transforms ordinary earners into true wealth builders. So, forget chasing just income, chase net worth. That is the pathway to financial freedom. When it comes to building lasting wealth, one of the most fundamental principles is this: own instead of owe. Ownership is the cornerstone of true financial power. It's not just about having money. It's about control. Control over your financial future, your decisions, and ultimately your life. When you rent, lease, or pay subscription fees endlessly, you are giving away control and stability to someone else. You become a perpetual tenant in your own financial story, paying for privileges without ever building lasting value. Think about it. When you rent a home, you might enjoy the space, but that monthly rent check disappears without adding to your personal wealth. That's money spent, not money invested. On the other hand, when you own a home, each payment builds equity. And with time, that equity can become a powerful financial tool, something you can borrow against, sell, or pass on. Ownership creates opportunities. Owing creates obligations. The philosophy here is simple but profound. True power lies in owning assets, not in owing debts. Equity ownership means having something tangible or financial that increases your net worth and provides a foundation for freedom. Paying off debt and shifting your spending toward acquiring assets puts you on a path where your money works for you, rather than you working to pay someone else. The strategy to achieve this requires a clear prioritization of equity, ownership over recurring expenses. This means shifting your mindset and your money toward buying rather than renting when it makes sense. For instance, buying property, whether your home or investment, real estate, is a powerful way to build equity and stability. Instead of leasing office equipment, tools, or vehicles, consider ownership options that add value to your balance sheet. It also means owning shares or stakes in businesses and investments, rather than paying for endless subscriptions that consume your money but never return it. When you subscribe to services, you're essentially renting convenience without accumulating value. But when you own stocks or other income-generating assets, each dollar can grow and compound over time. In my own life, I learned this lesson the hard way. Early on, I spent money on things that felt necessary but didn't build my financial future. Once I shifted my focus to ownership, buying real estate, investing in businesses, I began to see my net worth climb. The sense of control that came with owning something tangible was empowering. It wasn't just about the money. It was about taking charge of my destiny. A practical step you can take today is to review your monthly expenses and identify where you're paying for something without ownership. Could you convert a rental into a purchase? Could you shift from paying subscriptions to investing in assets? Even small changes add up over time. Owning instead of owing is the gateway to freedom. When you control assets, you control your future. The power to build lasting wealth is in your hands. Choose ownership. One of the most important rules on the path to financial freedom is to never spend tomorrow's money today. This is more than just advice about budgeting. It's a foundational philosophy that shapes your entire relationship with money and your future. When you borrow or spend money you don't yet have, you are essentially stealing from your future self. And this theft comes with a heavy price: lost freedom. Debt can become a silent thief, quietly robbing you of your time, energy, and opportunities. When you carry balances from month to month, you are forced to dedicate your future earnings to pay off the past. That future you imagine, the one with freedom, choice, and peace, is shackled by the burden of debt you incurred today. It's a trap that many fall into, mistaking the illusion of immediate gratification for real progress. The philosophy here is crystal clear. True wealth is about freedom, and freedom is impossible when you're chained to debt. The rich understand this deeply. They use debt selectively only when it builds lasting value. Borrowing for consumption, for vacations, gadgets, or lifestyle upgrades is a quick way to sacrifice your future for a momentary pleasure. The disciplined build wealth by saying no to that temptation and yes to strategic borrowing. The strategy to live by is simple. Borrow only to acquire appreciating assets or to invest in your own skills and education. When debt is used to buy something that will grow in value or increase your earning potential, it's a tool for wealth creation, not a chain to financial slavery. For example, borrowing to invest in a home, a business, or education can pay off many times over, but borrowing to finance depreciating assets like cars or consumer goods is a losing game. From a practical standpoint, the commitment to a zero credit card debt lifestyle is a game changer. This means no balances carried over from month to month, paying off what you owe in full each billing cycle, and resisting the temptation to buy what you cannot afford right now. It may seem restrictive at first, but it builds a muscle of discipline that strengthens your financial future. I remember the moment I decided to refuse credit card debt entirely. It wasn't easy because society encourages instant gratification. But once I made that choice, everything changed. I began living within my means, focusing on building assets instead of liabilities. That shift in mindset allowed me to take control, avoid unnecessary stress, and free up money to invest in opportunities that grew my wealth. If you want financial freedom, start by making a pact with yourself. Never spend tomorrow's money today. Let your future self thank you for the discipline you practice now. Choose freedom over debt and watch how your life begins to change. When it comes to managing money effectively, one of the most powerful lessons is that every dollar needs a job. This means money shouldn't just sit idly, waiting to be spent without purpose. Like workers in a factory, every dollar you earn must be assigned a specific role, whether it's covering your day-to-day living expenses, growing your wealth, expanding your knowledge, or making a positive impact through giving. When each dollar knows its job, chaos and waste give way to control and growth. The philosophy behind this is simple but profound. Money is a tool, and tools are only as effective as how well you use them. Treating money like an unpredictable resource or something to be spent impulsively invites stress and instability. But when you design a system where your income is strategically divided, you create a financial plan that works automatically to build your future. It becomes less about hoping for good luck and more about consistently making your money work for you. The strategy is to divide your money into clear categories: living, investing, learning, and giving. Living covers your basic needs like food, shelter, and utilities, the foundation of a stable life. Investing means directing funds into assets that build wealth, such as stocks, real estate, or a business. Learning is about investing in yourself. Books, courses, workshops, or mentorship that increase your skills and value. Giving reflects the principle that generosity creates flow. By helping others, you invite abundance into your life. Practical steps bring this philosophy and strategy into daily practice. One of the most effective is to automate transfers into separate accounts dedicated to each purpose. For example, when your paycheck arrives, set up automatic transfers so that a certain percentage goes into a living expenses account, another into an investment account, some into an education fund, and a portion into your giving account. Automation removes the temptation to overspend or forget, and it ensures your money is consistently allocated according to your priorities. From my own experience, setting up such a system was transformative. It created a sense of discipline without constant mental effort. I didn't have to remind myself where the money should go each month. It simply moved into the right buckets. This allowed me to focus on growing those investments, learning new skills, and giving back, all of which compounded to build real financial freedom over time. Remember, the key is to treat every dollar as an employee that deserves clear direction. When your money has a job, it doesn't just survive, it thrives, and so do you. When it comes to building lasting wealth, one truth stands above all else. Your mindset about money shapes your financial reality. How you think about money, your beliefs, your attitudes, and your mental habits directly influences the choices you make, the opportunities you pursue, and ultimately, the level of wealth you create. This is not just some abstract idea. It's a powerful law that I have witnessed time and again in my own life and in the lives of countless people I've worked with. If you want to build wealth that lasts, you must never stop developing your money mindset. The philosophy behind this is straightforward but often overlooked. Money itself is neutral. It neither makes people happy nor unhappy. Instead, it magnifies what is already inside you. If you harbor fear, scarcity, or doubt about money, those feelings will sabotage your efforts and keep you trapped in financial struggle. On the other hand, if you cultivate beliefs rooted in abundance, possibility, and growth, you'll naturally take actions that expand your financial horizons. So, the first step to managing money well is managing your mind well. The strategy here is to surround yourself with financial positivity and possibility. This means deliberately choosing your influences, what you read, who you listen to, and the conversations you engage in, so that they build your confidence and expand your understanding about money. Financial education becomes your armor against fear. It transforms money from something unknown and intimidating into a tool you understand and can wield with skill. Practically speaking, this means replacing financial fear with financial education every single day. It might be as simple as reading a chapter of a book on personal finance, listening to a podcast that discusses wealth-building principles, or attending a seminar or workshop that teaches smart money habits. The key is consistency. Just like physical fitness, mental fitness requires daily training. Small, steady doses of financial wisdom build habits that eventually become second nature. I remember when I first began this journey, I was surrounded by doubts and skepticism, both from inside and out. But each day, I committed to learning more, to questioning old beliefs, and to seeking out new ideas. Over time, that effort reshaped my relationship with money entirely. Fear gave way to curiosity. Scarcity gave way to abundance. So, the path to wealth is not just about dollars and cents. It's about the mindset that guides your decisions. Never stop building that mindset, because your financial future depends on it. When you think about a great ship sailing across the ocean, the captain's greatest fear isn't the storm ahead or the waves crashing against the hull. It's the slow, silent leaks below the waterline. One small leak, unnoticed, can sink the grandest vessel. Your finances are no different. Tiny leaks, those small, often invisible expenses, can erode the foundation of your wealth over time. What may seem insignificant now, when multiplied over months and years, can drain thousands from your pockets without you realizing it. This is a fundamental truth that many overlook. We focus on big earnings, chasing raises, or searching for the next investment. But in the process, we ignore the slow drip of costs that quietly diminish our potential. It's like watering a garden but allowing the hose to leak. No matter how much water you pour in, the plants never fully thrive because of the wasted flow. The philosophy here is simple. Wealth is not just about how much you make, but about how well you protect what you have. If you want to build true financial freedom, you have to guard your resources with the same diligence as a captain watching for leaks on their ship. This means developing a mindset of vigilance and stewardship. Every expense, no matter how small, deserves your attention because it either contributes to your growth or takes away from it. Now, the strategy is straightforward but requires discipline. You must make it a habit to regularly examine your recurring expenses, subscriptions, bills, memberships, and any other automatic payments. Many of these are set once and then forgotten, quietly siphoning money month after month. When was the last time you scrutinized your phone bill, insurance premiums, cable packages, or gym memberships? How many of those are you still actively using or benefiting from? How many were signed up for impulsively only to be ignored later? By eliminating expenses that do not bring value, you seal those leaks. This doesn't mean cutting everything. It means cutting wisely. It means recognizing where your money is best spent and where it's wasted. For example, if you're paying for a gym membership but haven't been in months, that's a leak. If you have multiple streaming services but only use one, that's a leak. If your phone plan includes data you never use, that's a leak. Every one of these matters. The practical step to keep this in check is to establish an annual review and renegotiation process. Make it a calendar event every year to go through all your bills and subscriptions. Call your service providers, compare offers, and negotiate better deals. You'd be surprised how many companies would rather give you a discount than lose you as a customer. This small act of taking control can save you hundreds or even thousands annually. In my own journey, I've seen the power of cutting small leaks. Early on, I didn't track every expense and found myself puzzled why my savings weren't growing despite a decent income. Then I began this practice: cutting unnecessary expenses, renegotiating bills, and questioning every recurring cost. That simple discipline changed the trajectory of my wealth-building journey. It was like plugging holes in a bucket. Suddenly, my efforts to fill it were not wasted. Ultimately, this habit is about respect. Respect for your money, your time, and your future. Don't let small leaks sink your ship. Make the effort to control every dollar, to ensure that your resources are working for you, not against you. Because the foundation of wealth is not only in how much you earn, but in how much you keep and grow. So, as you set sail on your financial journey, remember this: vigilance over the small things leads to mastery over the big. Guard against the tiny leaks, and your ship will sail strong and steady toward the horizon of true abundance. There's a simple but profound truth when it comes to building lasting wealth. Own what puts money in your pocket, and rent what takes money out. This principle may sound straightforward, but it's astonishing how many people overlook it and fall into the trap of confusing luxury with legacy. The philosophy is clear: assets work for you and grow your wealth, while luxuries simply drain your resources and lose value over time. Consider this: assets, whether real estate, stocks, businesses, or intellectual property, have one thing in common: they appreciate or produce income. They are like a farmer planting seeds that grow into fruitful trees over the years. Luxuries, on the other hand, are like a feast that is consumed quickly and leaves you hungrier tomorrow. They offer immediate gratification but no long-term benefit. A brand new luxury car, an expensive watch, or a sprawling mansion may make you feel wealthy today, but they do not build financial freedom. In fact, they often come with ongoing costs, maintenance, insurance, taxes that further eat into your wealth. The strategy here is to consciously distinguish between assets and luxuries. When you make decisions about money, ask yourself, is this an investment or an expense? Is this something that will generate cash flow or lose value? By aligning your spending with this mindset, you put yourself on the path of wealth accumulation rather than depletion. Take real estate as a classic example. Investing in income-generating property is a powerful way to build wealth. Rental properties can provide steady monthly income, tax advantages, and appreciation over time. Owning property where tenants pay you is vastly different from living in a home you own that requires you to cover all the costs without income. Even more so, renting a luxury vehicle instead of buying one outright can save you from depreciation losses while giving you the experience you desire. Practically speaking, start by identifying opportunities to purchase assets within your means. This could be as simple as investing in a small rental property, buying shares in dividend-paying stocks, or starting a side business that generates passive income. Meanwhile, practice renting or leasing luxury items, cars, vacations, high-end equipment, so you enjoy the lifestyle without tying up capital in things that lose value. I remember when I first grasped this concept. Early in my career, I was tempted to spend on flashy things that impressed others, but I learned the hard way that such purchases left me with empty pockets and no security. Once I shifted my focus to acquiring assets, books that increased my knowledge, a small business that generated income, property that appreciated, I started to see real growth in my financial life. Ultimately, the lesson is this: don't confuse spending with investing. Own what builds your future, rent what satisfies your present desires without jeopardizing tomorrow. Wealth is not about how much you spend, It's about how much you keep and grow. By choosing to buy assets and rent luxuries, you steer your life toward lasting financial freedom and peace. Remember, true wealth is created not by how much you can buy, but by how wisely you manage what you own. This is the path to not just living rich, but building riches that last. Wealth without character is not just incomplete, it's a curse. Money, in its purest form, is simply energy, a tool that amplifies who you are inside. If your foundation is weak, if your values are compromised, wealth will only magnify your flaws and lead you down a dangerous path. But if you build your fortune on a foundation of integrity, honesty, and strong principles, money becomes a powerful force for good, both in your life and in the lives of those around you. The philosophy is clear. Wealth is a reflection of character. It magnifies the best and worst of us. I've seen people rise quickly in wealth, only to lose everything because they lack the character to sustain it. On the other hand, those who prioritize their values, who refuse to sacrifice their integrity for a quick buck, build wealth that endures and enriches more than just their bank accounts. Aligning your earning methods with your values is the strategy that sets the wealthy apart. It's easy to be tempted by deals that promise fast money but require bending your principles. Yet, success gained through unethical means is often short-lived, filled with stress, guilt, and eventual downfall. When you stay true to your core, every transaction, every investment, and every partnership is an extension of who you are. Practically, this means defining your non-negotiable principles before you dive into any financial venture. Take time to write down what matters most: honesty, fairness, transparency, generosity, and use this list as your compass. When opportunities arise, evaluate them against this checklist. If a deal requires you to compromise on these values, walk away, no matter how enticing the payoff. In my own journey, I learned this lesson the hard way. Early on, I chased deals that seemed lucrative but conflicted with my principles. The stress and consequences that followed taught me that wealth gained without character is fragile and fleeting. When I shifted focus, aligning every step with my values, the wealth I built brought peace, respect, and true freedom. Remember, character is the currency that outlasts money. It builds trust, relationships, and opportunities that no amount of wealth can buy. Wealth without character may provide temporary comfort, but true, lasting success comes only when integrity leads the way. This is the secret that separates the rich from the truly wealthy. Borrowing money, leverage as it's called, is one of those tools in life that can either elevate you to new heights or bring you crashing down if handled carelessly. I want you to understand deeply today that leverage itself is not good or bad, it's simply a resource. How you use it determines whether it becomes a stepping stone or a stumbling block. The secret lies in wielding this tool wisely, with discipline and purpose. Now, I have seen many people approach debt as though it were free money, something to be used for instant gratification, luxuries, or lifestyle inflation. I have also watched families crushed by the weight of debt accumulated for things that have no lasting value. There's a profound difference between debt used for personal consumption and debt used to create income or build assets. This is the heart of the philosophy I want to share with you. Debt for personal consumption is a trap. It chains you to monthly payments for things that depreciate, things that never put a dollar back in your pocket. It's like borrowing to fill a bucket with holes. Cars, vacations, fancy gadgets, that designer wardrobe, all wonderful experiences or possessions, but none of these build wealth. In fact, they drain your financial resources and limit your freedom. I have learned through my own journey that the road to wealth is paved with control over your money, not by borrowing for lifestyle. On the other hand, leverage used to acquire appreciating assets or income-producing ventures is a different story. When you borrow money to buy a rental property, that debt is working for you, generating rental income and building equity. When you invest borrowed funds into a business that earns profits, you multiply your opportunities to create wealth. This type of borrowing is not just smart, it's essential for accelerating growth beyond what your savings alone can achieve. There's a story from early in my career that comes to mind. I wasn't born into wealth. I started with very little. But I did have an unshakable belief in the power of hard work, learning, and discipline. At one point, I took a loan not to buy a luxury, but to invest in an opportunity that would multiply my income streams. I studied the venture carefully, understood the risks and rewards, and had a clear plan to repay the loan. This was borrowing with intention. It was borrowing with a purpose, and it paid off, dramatically expanding my financial horizons. This experience taught me a valuable lesson. Debt isn't the enemy. Ignorance and impulsiveness are. When you borrow without knowledge, without a plan, you step onto a slippery slope. You become vulnerable to the stress of payments, the threat of penalties, and the loss of freedom. But when you borrow wisely, you're using leverage as a tool to magnify your efforts, to open doors that would otherwise remain closed. Now, let me talk about practical steps, because philosophy without action is just empty words. The first step is to avoid all debt for personal consumption. Commit to living within your means and reject the culture of buying what you can't afford on credit. This requires discipline and sometimes sacrifice. But the payoff is freedom. When you're not burdened by unnecessary monthly payments, you can focus on building true wealth. Next, when you do decide to borrow, make it a strategic decision. Before you sign any loan agreement, write down the purpose of the borrowing. Ask yourself, is this for an asset that will appreciate or generate income? Do I have a clear plan to repay this debt? What happens if the investment doesn't perform as expected? How will I protect my principal? Answering these questions will help you avoid reckless decisions and keep you focused on wealth building. Understanding the terms of your borrowing is equally crucial. Know the interest rates, repayment schedules, fees, and penalties. Don't be fooled by low introductory rates or flashy offers. The total cost of borrowing over time must be manageable and justified by the returns you expect. Financial literacy in this area protects you from becoming trapped in debt cycles that seem unending. Let me share a cautionary example. A close friend of mine once borrowed heavily to fund an expensive lifestyle while keeping a modest income. The interest payments piled up, and soon his entire paycheck was swallowed by debt servicing. He lost not only money but peace of mind. I tell you this because I want you to avoid these pitfalls. Wealth is not just about numbers in a bank account. It's about mental and emotional freedom. Furthermore, leverage is not a set-it-and-forget-it strategy. You must constantly monitor your debts and investments. Financial markets change. Personal circumstances evolve. And what made sense yesterday may not work tomorrow. Regularly reviewing your debts, refinancing when possible, and paying down expensive liabilities early will keep you on solid ground. A monthly or quarterly review of your financial position, including all liabilities, is a practice every wise investor adopts. Remember, there is no shame in saying no to debt if the situation isn't right. Sometimes the best financial decision is to wait, save more, and only borrow when the opportunity and timing align perfectly with your goals. Patience is a form of discipline that will pay dividends in your journey to financial freedom. Finally, I want you to embrace the mindset that debt is a servant, not a master. Use it intentionally to build income streams and assets that will work for you long after you've moved on to other ventures. But never let debt control your life or steal your peace. When you master this principle, you step into a powerful position where money works for you instead of you working for money. So, borrow wisely, invest prudently, and always plan for your freedom. That is the cornerstone of true wealth. The way you handle leverage today will echo in your financial future. Make sure it echoes with strength, discipline, and freedom. Let debt be the wind beneath your wings, not the weight on your shoulders. Money is a servant, not a master. This is a truth so fundamental, yet so often overlooked, that it has the power to transform your entire relationship with wealth. I want you to understand that money itself is neither good nor bad. It is a tool, a means to an end. Like any tool, it can be used wisely or unwisely. And the difference lies in who holds the reins, the master or the servant. Early on, I observed people struggling financially, not because they didn't have money, but because money had taken control of their lives. They lived paycheck to paycheck, stressed and overwhelmed by debt, consumed by the endless pursuit of more possessions, more status, more comfort. Money ruled their choices, dictated their moods, and limited their freedom. These people had become slaves to their own desires and impulses, and money was their jailer. On the other hand, I saw those who used money as a servant, a faithful worker who followed orders and served their goals. They built wealth steadily, not just in currency, but in freedom. The freedom to spend time as they wished, to give generously, to build a lasting legacy. The philosophy is simple but profound. Control money, or it will control you. You must see money as a tool that can either build your freedom or enslave you. It is not the prize to chase, but the means to live a life on your terms. This requires a mindset shift, a clear understanding that money should never become an idol, never the source of your security or happiness. Instead, it should be a loyal servant working diligently in the background to create opportunities and security. To harness money as a servant, you need a strategy. The first step is to create clear rules about how you handle money before you even receive it. Most people get paid and then decide what to do with their money. That's like receiving a shipment of bricks and then deciding what to build. Wise people plan their building in advance. Before payday, write down exactly how every dollar will be allocated towards necessities, savings, investments, and yes, some for enjoyment. When you do this, you give your money a job and prevent it from wandering aimlessly. One practical approach is to automate this system. As soon as your paycheck arrives, set up automatic transfers to savings and investment accounts, pay your bills automatically, and allocate spending money for essentials. Automation removes the temptation to spend impulsively and makes sure your money serves your priorities immediately. This habit not only builds discipline, but also creates a safety net you might not otherwise have. Beyond planning and automation, it's essential to regularly audit your spending habits. At least once a month, take time to review your bank statements and ask yourself, where did my money go? Did I spend it on what truly matters? Are there small leaks draining my financial ship? These leaks could be unnoticed subscription services, frequent dining out, or impulse buys. Identifying and eliminating these drains frees up more money to invest or save, accelerating your path to freedom. I recall my own early days when I was trying to make sense of money. I would watch carefully where every dollar went, sometimes even questioning small purchases. Over time, these small adjustments added up. The discipline of tracking, planning, and controlling spending became second nature, and with that came peace of mind and confidence. money stopped controlling me. Instead, it started working for me. There's another critical layer to this philosophy. Money magnifies who you are. It will reflect your character, your discipline, your habits. If you are careless or impulsive, having more money will only amplify those traits and lead to bigger mistakes. But if you cultivate discipline, integrity, and wisdom, money will magnify those qualities and help you build lasting wealth. So, part of mastering money is mastering yourself. This is why personal development is inseparable from financial success. Think about this. If money is a servant, your job as the master is to give it clear commands. What commands are you giving your money? Are you directing it to build savings, generate income, or provide security? Or are you letting it wander freely, leading you into debt, stress, and regret? The difference between a master and a servant is control, direction, and purpose. To truly master your money, begin today by setting simple but firm rules for your spending. Decide how much you will save, invest, and spend before your paycheck arrives. Automate these decisions so that discipline becomes effortless. Monitor your spending, cut unnecessary expenses, and redirect those funds toward building your future. Remember, each dollar without a purpose is a dollar that might betray you. This approach transforms money from a source of anxiety into a source of power and freedom. When you treat money as your servant, you reclaim your life. You stop chasing money and instead let money work for you. You unlock the door to financial independence, where your time, your choices, and your destiny belong to you, not to the paycheck, the credit card, or the debt collector. So, take control. Give your money a job. Build your rules and follow them with discipline. Let money serve your vision of freedom and abundance. And never allow it to become your master. Master this, and you master your life. Wealth is often mistaken as something merely counted in dollars, numbers on a bank statement, or the size of one's possessions. But true wealth is far more profound than that. It's a legacy, a story that you pass on, not just through money, but through the wisdom, values, and principles that shape character and guide decisions. What you leave behind when you are gone is not just the cash you accumulated, but the life lessons you shared, the habits you instilled, and the vision you inspired. I've come to understand over the years that money without meaning can vanish overnight. But wealth built with purpose and principles has a ripple effect that lasts generations. In my early years, I witnessed families with substantial money who lost it within a generation because no one taught how to steward it wisely. On the other hand, families who might not have had great fortunes left a legacy of discipline, integrity, and an unshakable mindset that made their descendants richer in every sense of the word. It's not just the dollars that shape the future, it's the lessons learned and passed on that truly build wealth. The first step toward leaving more than money behind is to recognize that legacy is about who you become as much as what you accumulate. It's about the values you live by, the habits you cultivate, and the wisdom you share with those you love. This is why I encourage everyone to begin documenting their life lessons. Write down the experiences that changed you, the principles that you live by, and the mistakes that taught you the most. This practice is not just for your own reflection, but to give your family a guidebook that no amount of money can replace. Sharing these stories with your children, grandchildren, or mentees creates a powerful inheritance. Imagine passing down not only assets, but also the mindset to steward those assets responsibly, understanding the difference between wealth and consumption, knowing the importance of discipline over desire, and appreciating the value of patience in a world addicted to instant gratification. One of the most important lessons I learned on my journey is that wealth without wisdom is a curse in disguise. Money magnifies your true nature. If you lack discipline or integrity, wealth will only multiply your mistakes. But if you build your wealth on solid principles, it becomes a tool for freedom, opportunity, and impact. That's why teaching your family and those close to you about character, decision-making, and money management is the most valuable inheritance you can give. Let me share a story from my own life. Early on, I had little but a strong desire to learn. I devoured books, absorbed principles, and surrounded myself with people who modeled success. I wasn't given a financial fortune, but I was handed a blueprint for thinking and acting like someone who could create one. Over time, I built assets and created opportunities, but more importantly, I developed habits that shaped my character. When I shared those habits and values with my children and associates, I passed on something that money alone could never buy. Your financial legacy should be a balance of practical wealth and meaningful values. Draft a plan that includes both. Consider how you want to pass on not only your assets, but your mindset. Perhaps it's through creating trusts that protect the financial future, but more importantly, through mentoring conversations, family meetings about money and purpose, or even writing a personal letter outlining what wealth means to you and how you want it stewarded. It's also critical to teach that wealth is a responsibility, not just a privilege. The freedom wealth brings is meaningful only when it is used wisely. Encouraging generosity, integrity, and stewardship helps ensure that what you leave behind grows and blesses others, rather than becoming a source of conflict or loss. Money can be fleeting, but principles endure. I urge you to think about your legacy as a garden. The money is the seed, but your values and wisdom are the soil that nurtures it. Without rich soil, the seed cannot flourish. With care, it can grow into a tree that offers shade, fruit, and shelter for generations. In closing, remember that true wealth is more than accumulation, it's cultivation. Cultivate yourself, cultivate your character, and cultivate your relationships, for these are the foundations of a legacy that money alone cannot build. Pass on not just what you have, but who you are, and you will create a fortune that lasts beyond your lifetime. Generosity is one of those timeless principles that many misunderstand. They think giving is something to be done only after they have enough, as if generosity waits at the end of a long journey. But I've learned and lived that generosity is not a reward for wealth, it is a pathway to wealth. This is a foundational habit that separates those who build lasting prosperity from those who chase money but never truly find it. Let me share something personal. Early in my career, when money was tight and the future seemed uncertain, I made a simple decision. I committed to giving a portion of what I earned, no matter how small. Sometimes it was just $1 or $2, but I gave consistently. At first it felt uncomfortable. My natural instinct was to hold tight to every penny. But over time, that act of giving shifted something deep inside me. It was as if by opening my hand, I invited abundance in. The habit of generosity helped me develop discipline, trust, and humility. It taught me that money isn't a possession to clutch, but a tool to be used. Here's the heart of it. Wealth flows through open hands. Money that is hoarded out of fear or scarcity mindset often stagnates. But money given with intention, generosity, and faith circulates, creates goodwill, builds relationships, and attracts opportunities. It's the law of reciprocity in action. Give and you shall receive. When you give, you are declaring your belief that there is enough for you and for others. This mindset shift is what transforms lives. I remember a story from my own journey. There was a time when I invested in my education and business, but I always kept giving a portion of my earnings to causes I cared about, whether that was supporting education programs, helping families in need, or investing in community projects. Often, I saw that those small acts of generosity opened doors I never expected. Business opportunities, partnerships, and friendships arose that wouldn't have existed otherwise. It wasn't magic. It was the natural return of goodwill and trust you build when you give without hesitation. To build generosity as a habit, start with a simple, practical step. Decide on a percentage of your income that you will give regularly. It doesn't matter if it's 1%, 5%, or 10%. What matters is that you decide and you stick to it. Make it automatic if possible. Set up a transfer that happens as soon as you get paid. This makes generosity a non-negotiable part of your financial life, just like paying your bills or saving for the future. Choose causes that align with your values and passions. Giving becomes far more meaningful and sustainable when it supports something you deeply believe in. It could be a charity, a local organization, or even helping someone in your community. The key is to give with intention, not out of obligation or guilt, but from a place of faith and abundance and a desire to contribute. Many people worry that giving will reduce their resources, that they can't afford to give. But here's the paradox. When you give wisely, you create a flow that often returns to you multiplied. It might not always be financial. It can be opportunities, relationships, knowledge, or peace of mind. Wealth is not just what you keep in your bank account. It's also the network you build, the reputation you cultivate, and the impact you leave behind. I have seen countless examples in my life and others. People who give consistently often find doors open where walls once stood. They become magnets for success because they have learned the secret that wealth is more than accumulation, it's circulation. By investing in others, you invest in your own future. The practice of generosity also builds character. It keeps you humble, grounded, and connected to something larger than yourself. It prevents the trap of greed and selfishness that can destroy even the wealthiest. When you give regularly, you nurture your spirit as well as your finances. Let me encourage you, do not wait until you have enough to start giving. Start where you are with what you have. Even if it's a small amount, give it consistently. Watch how this habit changes your perspective and opens new paths. It is one of the most powerful financial disciplines you can develop. Remember, the wealthiest people I have known are not those who hoarded their resources, but those who understood that true riches come from sharing and contributing. Generosity is not a cost, it's an investment. A seed that grows into abundance in ways you can't always predict. So start today. Decide how much you will give. Make it a joyful habit. Let your money serve a higher purpose, and in doing so, you will discover the true meaning of wealth. As we come to the close of this journey together, I want to remind you of something simple but profound. Wealth is not just about numbers in a bank account. It's about the habits you build, the discipline you maintain, and the mindset you nurture. The path to financial freedom, to true abundance, is a process, a daily commitment to think differently, act intentionally, and build steadily. I have shared with you timeless principles, practical steps, and philosophies that have guided many who have walked the road from scarcity to abundance. Now, the choice lies with you. Understand this. No one starts at the peak. Every successful person you admire began somewhere, often with very little. The difference is that they made a decision to change their thinking and to adopt habits that lead to wealth. They treated money as a tool, not a master. They invested in themselves and their knowledge, knowing that skills and wisdom compound faster than any dollar. They built systems to protect their capital and to reinvest profits until those profits could sustain their lifestyle and dreams. This isn't about luck or timing. It's about consistency. The secret wealth principle is that small, disciplined actions, repeated day after day, month after month, create unstoppable momentum. Saving a little, learning a lot, giving generously, auditing your habits regularly, building assets that produce income while you sleep. These are the bricks that build your financial house. It's easy to be tempted by shortcuts or flashy deals promising quick riches. But I urge you to stay grounded in the fundamentals. Protect your capital like your life depends on it. Because it does. Guard your mindset against fear, greed, and impatience. Wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. It is forged in the quiet decisions to live below your means, to invest wisely, and to continually improve. Remember, financial freedom is about more than money. It's about control over how you live your days. Riches without freedom are just another form of slavery. Your goal is to build wealth that buys you time, peace, and the ability to impact others positively. Start where you are. Use what you have. Build the habits of the wealthy by automating your savings, learning daily, giving thoughtfully, and surrounding yourself with people who uplift your vision. Track your progress regularly. Measure what matters so you can improve what counts. Don't wait for perfect conditions or a windfall. Take action today, no matter how small the step. I have walked this path, faced setbacks, and learned that wealth is as much about character as it is about cash flow. The greatest legacy you can leave is not just dollars, but the principles you live by and teach others. Invest not only in assets, but in wisdom, relationships, and generosity. So here is your call to action. Commit right now to mastering the secret wealth principles you've heard today. Define your why you want wealth, and what it will do for your life. Make a plan and write it down. Set aside a portion of your income to invest in your future. Build a financial habit audit and stick to it monthly. Find a mentor or a community that supports your growth. Begin giving, no matter how small, and watch abundance flow. This is your moment. The moment to choose discipline over desire, clarity over confusion, persistence over excuses. Wealth is waiting for those who act. Your future self will thank you for the decisions you make today. Go forward with confidence, with purpose, and with the belief that your best days and your richest days are still ahead. Build wisely, live richly, and leave a legacy that transcends generations. The journey to wealth is yours to claim. Start now.